All right, let's move on to our closed session announcements from Trustee Scott.
Okay. Okay, so for closed session announcements, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957 and 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator. Was Yancey? Can I put Yancey?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yancey. What's Yancey's last name? Hawkins, thank you, sorry. Sorry, Yancey, I forgot your last name for a second. Assistant Superintendent, Employees Organization, Novato Federation of Teachers, NFT, gave direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to approving the agenda. There is one item that we are going to take off, which is the public hearing 11A. The public hearing for the high school bell schedule will not be happening this evening. That'll occur at our next regular scheduled meeting, May 22nd. But otherwise, everything stands as is.
I'll move to approve the order of business, not including item 11A.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a first by Trustee Millerick, a second by Trustee Aguila. All in favor to approve the agenda? Okay, 7-0. And if you'd like to make any comments regarding our consent agenda or anything on the agenda to begin with, and you can also speak to any item, anything that you wish. It doesn't have to be on the agenda. So either way, please fill out a blue card, which is located over there on this tray behind our screen, and bring it up to Sally, and we will place you where you need to be able to speak. And every community member has 3 minutes to speak on any item that you'd like. So now moving on to our consent. I don't have any blue cards for our consent agenda. Does anybody, any trustee would like to pull anything?
Madam
Okay.
President, I would like 2 items.
2 items, okay.
D and F, I have just some brief remarks I'd like to make about those items, and we can do it.
Okay, Trustee Nell would like to pull D and F on our consent agenda.
D is in dog.
Yes, D is in dog.
Okay,
Yep,
right.
got it. Okay. All right, so now,
And I'll
Yes.
move
Okay.
consent with the exception of D and F.
okay, second by Trustee Millerick. So first by Trustee Cooper, second by Trustee Millerick. All in favor? Okay, 7-0. We're almost there. Here we go. Novato Charter School is here this evening, and they will be presenting, and Nikki is around here. Nikki Lloyd. Oh, there she is. Nikki, you're up. You brought your whole school tonight, didn't you? This place is going to empty out when you.
Oh, wow.
This is exciting, so thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Having you.
We're excited that this evening we brought the 4th grade, along with their teacher, Miss Ferguson, and our music director, Mr. Blacklock.
This is our 4th grade class, and we're going to make sure they all fit in here. Can we curve back a little bit so we can fit? Oh,
Second row.
And then Mrs. Ferguson. Mrs. Ferguson's the 4th grade teacher. I'm the music director. I think you've all seen me here before. And they love to sing, so they have 3 songs to sing for you. The first one I will introduce. The other 2 will be introduced by students. And so our first one is a classic American song, "This Land Is Your Land" by Woody Guthrie.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless yo me llamo Ilaya.
Yo me llamo Victoria.
Now we will be singing Sale la Luna, which is a song in Spanish.
Sale la Luna is about the stars, the moon, and the evening.
We hope you enjoy.
Good, okay.
Sale la luna redonda, redonda, como una plaza, como una ronda. Sale la luna chiquita, chiquita, también redonda, pequeña lunita. Yo no sé de dónde viene, a dónde va. Yo no sé, pero papito me lo dirá. Sale la estrella, bella, muy bella, los angelitos juegan con ella. Sale la luna rosada, rosada, porque ya viene la madrugada. Yo no sé de dónde viene, a dónde va. Yo no sé, pero papito me lo dirá.
And one more, thank you.
Hi, my name is Stuart Vine.
And I'm Rafael Esposito.
The fourth grade class will now sing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot is a African American spiritual. This song expresses hope for freedom and justice. We hope you enjoy.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. All the band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Good there before I do, coming for to carry me home. Tell all my friends I'm coming too, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. All night, all day, angels watching over me, my Lord. All night, all day, angels watching over me. Sing all night, sweet chariot, angels watching over me, my Lord. Sing all night, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me. Sing all night, sweet chariot, angels watching over me, my Lord. Sing all night, sweet chariot, angels
That was so good. Thank you for kicking off our board meeting in a great way. We appreciate you coming. Anything else, Nikki, that you want to add, or? You do? Yeah, but nothing else with this. Boy, they're like, no, I know, that's coming.
Something better.
Well, now they're leaving,
I know. Oh, well.
but they were pretty fabulous.
Yeah, it was so good.
You didn't tell them they can't leave?
You have to stay until, what, 10 p.m.? They're testing tomorrow.
Ooh.
Not great planning, so I think we'll send them home.
Yeah. for
Yeah,
sure.
go home. Am I next now
Not
because of the
yet,
change of
not-
agenda, or no?
Not quite yet. Yes. Wow.
Brutal.
Okay, let's continue to move on. This is the public hearing, item 11B, because we took off 11A. This is the resolution number 26, 2017-2018 of the Board of Trustees of Nevada Unified School District calling an election, establishing specification of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 6, 2018. So I will go ahead and open the public hearing. I don't have anybody speaking before it. If you'd like to, please come up and speak before this item, but I don't have anything, so I'm going to go ahead and close that hearing. We have the item later on in the agenda where we'll make the discussion action for the board. So I've closed the public hearing. All right, let's move on to our announcements. Hi, Saul.
Hello. So this week, some students are going into AP testing. So they're being taken out of class and doing their testing, which goes towards their college credits, correct? Yes. It's also, we're 1 month away from finals, so we're getting our projects in, hoping, we're getting our late work in, and hoping that it's going to be easy on us. And the last thing that we've done so far is that we had an SAC meeting, and we talked about equity and how a equitable school looks, feels, and sounds. Yeah.
Thank you.
No comments.
No comment. Trustee Nell?
Just a large thank you for everyone who helped put on the school-fueled Tour of Novato bike ride this past weekend. Was a success. Can't give you any specific numbers or report out at this, too early for that, but everyone feels like it went well, and want to thank everyone for supporting and helping to put the event on. Tomorrow is our first JLAC committee meeting, so I'll have more to say on that next time. So that's my report.
I think you can still make donations for Tour of Novato. It's for another, like, almost, I think it's 12 days worth left. So
Absolutely.
you can still keep making a donation.
Absolutely. They take money year-round.
Yeah, that's true. But if you want to sponsor a rider, you can still do that. Okay. Trustee Aguila?
Yes, on the, what was it, yeah, let me put my glasses on. Okay, on the 25th, I was unable to go to the trustee and superintendent dinners. I wish I could have cut myself in half and done both, but instead I went to the Nevada High School senior project evening where they needed a judge, and I was able to be one of the judges for these projects. And I got to see 5 students and their projects, and I was very pleased with most of them. And you know, they did a lot of hard work, but there's always room for improvement. But I was overall just, you know, we didn't do this when I went to Nevada High, and it's something that I think would have been fun to do, but a lot of work was put into it, and so I thank Nevada High senior teachers for putting that together, and the students for working really hard. And then on the 30th, some of us went to the ELD graduation, and again, very proud of the students and the parents, and the students there were able to get their award, and they showed that they transferred, they're bilingual, they're just, I see a lot of success in the future for them if they keep it up. So,
thank you. Trustee Mack?
Just really quick, I did ride in the tour. It was fun. I want to thank everybody for organizing it. We had a good time and good food, so enjoyed that. And also, too, just if anybody's interested, was at Nevada High today, and girls across, they won. Oh, yeah. 21-0.
Yeah. That was NCS, right?
NCS first round.
Yeah, first round. Okay. Because they did win the MCAL champions, as everybody knows that.
Yeah, well, I was there for baseball. There's nothing like watching the national anthem in the middle of the
Okay.
Trustee Cooper.
So this past couple weeks, I've I went to the Golden Bell meeting, and by the way, May 24th is the Golden Bell celebration down at Dominican University. I went to Olive's open house, and that was just phenomenal. I actually took a video I shared with Leslie, and Fran Rosoff just did I think it's on our website, right?
It's on our Facebook page.
Facebook page.
Okay.
It's totally amazing. She's so talented. It's fun. It was so much fun. Then I went to San Jose's open house, the Hill PBL exposition, which was awesome. They're doing a great job, and the tour of Novato did some work there. So that's it.
Great. Trustee Scott?
I did attend the trustee superintendent dinner, which was very well attended. It was nice to be able to talk with other trustees around the county and find out what they're doing in their district, so I thought that was really beneficial. I also went to the Nova and Marin Oaks Senior Project, and I have to say that that was really moving. Debbie and I were there, and one of the students did her senior project on suicide awareness, and it was very moving. She told about a story and how she's writing a book, and that within the chapters are going to be various verses from songs that were really kind of setting the chapter. I thought it was incredible. In fact, I was really moved. And after reaching out to them, they also emailed me and told me about a movie that they went and saw down in Mill Valley. It's called Not Alone. And I guess it's about a young woman here who I guess experienced a friend with suicide, and it was just a movie that was really well done. I would love if there's some way that we can maybe get that for our district. These parents that had seen it said that it was incredibly moving and very educational. I mean, maybe it's something we should look at before we just put it in there, obviously, but I thought it was...
Not alone.
Not alone, yeah. It was, yeah, I thought it was really cool. I'm also going to be doing, May 18th, I'm going to be doing the mental health. It's, I guess, in May, it's the Mental Health Month, and H&HS, which is the Marin County Health and Human Services Department, is putting on a challenge day to raise awareness for sensitivity and empathy for behavioral health challenges. And that's going to be actually 3 days, but 1 day's for the panel. So I think that's going to be interesting. I will report back out on that. And I also attended the reclassification ceremony, and I thought the school fuel was an amazing event. I thought it was very well attended. I mean, there must have been, it seemed like 400 or 500 kids. I'd be curious to see what those numbers are when they actually report out. And Derek, I want to thank you for doing a lot of the heavy lifting. We did some of the cleanup after, but yeah, we were literally doing cleanup, but I just want to say thank you because you were the muscles, really.
Okay, I did quite a lot of the things that you guys mentioned. The superintendent trustee dinner for the around the county. I did the Model the Way Awards for our district. I really enjoyed doing that. I was able to go see Legally Blonde at San Marin, and the reclassification ceremony for the district was last week. I did help out at Tor Novato. I was doing registration in the morning. Leslie and I, we were tag teaming with a bunch of other, the librarian at Sinaloa was there helping us too, and so it was good to get to know her. Shelley and I did the Marin Oaks and Nova senior projects. They called it PBL Exhibition Night, I think is what they called it. I really liked their senior projects compared to Novato High senior project. I thought it was much more meaningful. The Marin Oaks projects, I guess the topics they had to choose from, or how they chose their topic at Marin Oaks and Nova, because my daughter did her senior project, and it's quite different than this. So I thought it was interesting. And then yesterday we had the District Advisory Committee meeting. I was able to attend that. And then the meditation room ribbon cutting at Marin Oaks, I was able to go to that. That was last week, Friday, I think it was. And that was really neat. You guys have to go over and check out the meditation room. It's really nice. And it is all part of Novato leadership. One of the teams called Team Pacheco. This was their project. And so they got the donations. They put out a GoFundMe page. They raised, I think, $6,500 to put towards it. I think Rotary, Novato, or Sunrise Rotary had a partnership with them as well. So it was a really collective group that came together to make this room happen, and Kessa is very pleased and very happy to have this room on our campus. So it'll definitely be used. It was exciting. So, and it was great to have community members come to that campus, you know, chamber members and people who may not have kids in the schools anymore, and to come and see what we actually do at the Hill Education Center. So it was nice. That is it. Superintendent Hogoboom.
Thank you. So tomorrow, speaking of Leadership Novato, that's their graduation tomorrow at City Hall at 5 o'clock, I believe it is. And Jen Larson is representing the district this year. So last year, Yancey participated. This year, it's Jen. I think next year, Mr. Woolard's going to be participating. So there you are. Bad timing because I missed the school fuel tour. Novato went down to the superintendents in Northern California, Southern California superintendents met together down in Long Beach on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It was actually a really good meeting. We share topics and people, we talked about mental health, we talked about budgets, share ideas and concerns that people have. They had a guest speaker who talked about the power of focus and intention. So actually some really good ideas and a chance to share with some other superintendents. Normally we meet in the Northern separately, but then when the spring we meet together. So this year it's in Long Beach, next year it's in Napa, so it kind of rotates. So, because of that I missed out school fuel, unfortunately. I go to Leadership for Equity and Opportunity. It'll be a total of 9 days this year. Marin Promise, Ann Matheson went to that last year. It's been really an excellent training over in Oakland. So these are the last 3 days, but been really powerful in terms of hopefully equity work. And then finally, next Thursday on May 17th, we are sponsoring at Hill, Not in Our Town, is putting on a movie that was actually screened, I believe, in Mill Valley before. And it's about a town that had a killing due to a hate crime and how that town came together to deal with that. And so it's, Leslie's been kind of heading it up, but we told them they can't take more of her time because she's too busy. But it's really an important, it's actually a community event. It's really important. And again, people that have seen that movie say that it's really powerful. And out of it kind of comes, I think, a group that, again, there's this group called Not in Our Town that tries to pull people together really around issues of inclusion and so that we don't have hate crimes and those kind of things. So if you get a chance, that's at Hill next Thursday at 6. Right? Okay. Thank you.
All right, I have no non-agenda public comment cards, so let's move on. So Nikki, you are up. Oh, Yvonne's going to do a little introduction. All right. And you all have this at your table, the PowerPoint that will be presented.
Okay, well, good evening, Board of Trustees. Thank you, President Butler. So this year it's been a joy to collaborate with Nikki. We meet monthly over at her school site or in my office. So it's just a liaison, keeping in touch, working with them. This year we focused a lot on culture, climate, collaboration, specifically around cultural competency training for the staff. Also looking at the diversity of the school as an ongoing goal that they have. So Nikki's going to be able to give an update of the work that they've been doing at the site. And I just want to thank Nikki for her leadership there and for collaborating with us and with me. So thank you, Nikki.
Thank you for having me. I realize today this is the 7th year that I've stood before you. This is my 6th year, but I came to the meeting before I officially joined. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to work with Yvonne. Really appreciated his support, his insight, as well as the rest of the district staff. Kelly Johnson here, and I really appreciate all the support and the relationship that we continue to have with Novato Unified School District. It really means a lot. So as Yvonne said, we have focused on culture, climate, and collaboration. Not sure I know how to use this, but I'll try. All right. So we've continued focusing our attention on increasing and supporting and retaining diverse students. So we recognize that this is important, that our school reflect the demographics of the area, and have for the last number of years worked on our outreach. So we've continued to do that. We've also recognized that we need to ensure, as all schools need to do, once the children and the families are in our school, we're able to retain them and that they feel comfortable and that they feel their needs are being met. It's also an area where we can really be proactive and take steps. Because we're a lottery-based school, in many ways our hands are tied in terms of some years the lottery yields an increase and other years it doesn't. But we certainly can prepare so that we're ready and welcoming and retain those students. So we did have an increase in our free and reduced lunch count from 10.9 to 15.3% over the last year. We did this last year ask that the private aftercare and before, well, she was previously just offered aftercare, now offers before school care and increased after school care hours, as well as a sliding scale. So that again, we're making sure that all families' needs are met. And our outreach, of course, culminated once again in that tour in Spanish. Continuing with ensuring the positive school climate for all learners, 3 staff members, including myself, attended Beyond Diversity's, and a board member who's actually sitting in the audience right now, attended Beyond Diversity's Courageous Conversations. And I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with this, but this group's goal is to bring the race discussion in America to the forefront. I was extremely grateful that I participated with Novato Unified School District last year with the National Equity Project, because I felt that that set me up beautifully to receive the information that Beyond Diversity delivered in the Courageous Conversation. And I'm quite pleased that we were able to have a board member go as well as 2 teachers, because we've brought those activities back to the entire faculty and are really discussing what that looks like, how to bring that to all children. So we've also begun more intensively aligning our classroom resources with the FAIR Act, also known as the Senate Bill 48, and that is in relationship as well to the social studies and history standards that were adopted in 2016. So again, ensuring that we have books and materials that reflect all families and all learners. We've partnered with the parents. This was a great activity to form the Many Hearts Committee with its mission of embracing diversity, expanding awareness, and cultivating kindness. And that's been a very proactive group and really extended that work out of the students, or from the students and the teachers into the parent realm. We've continued our work with the cyber civics curriculum, which promotes responsible and ethical use of online activity in middle school. So of course, with the middle school on campus, we want to make sure that we're minimizing or being proactive about any bullying, and we know that the cyber bullying in particular is prevalent these days. So we've been working on what that looks like to be an online citizen. You can stop me if you have any questions as I'm going along. Again, we're continuing to build staff capacity to work with diverse learners, and really using the multi-tier system where we're starting off with that universal strong instruction for all learners, and then as needed, moving in closer to those students who need increased supports. Grade and subject-specific professional development keeps the teachers current. We've continued to work on that. I really appreciate that Novato Unified School District adopted the Sunday system, and we were able to send a number of our faculty to the trainings, and we are now using that in our RTI program, which dovetails beautifully if students do qualify to begin receiving special services. We started the year with a Balavizics training, and I did invite anybody from Novato Unified School District who wanted to join us. But this is a wonderful program which is really integrating children, or all individuals, on a physical level to prepare them from learning. And this was a system that Balavizics was developed by a special ed teacher in a public school to prepare his special ed students to receive the curriculum and material. And again, we're continuing that RTI work. Collaboration with Novato Unified School District on the technological frontier for student success. You know, we are a Waldorf-inspired school, right? It's been a little challenging, but we're getting there with your help. And we've really appreciated that. We did receive 2 new sets of student Chromebooks, which we're very excited to start using. We're having a few issues with connectivity in the classroom, which is limiting their use. But we've been working with Yancey Hawkins on that in the IT department. We've been using the SST online to initiate and track and support Child Fine, our obligation for Child Fine. And we found that has been, we're getting used to using that online platform, but very beneficial. Aries, we have all of our middle school students and teachers on Aries, and the parents can access that. Some of them were familiar with the Aries system for the students of theirs who have gone on to your high schools. And for others, it was brand new, but we're quite pleased now that we're a year into that. Online registration and enrollment via Schoolmint. So we're transitioning to, we've been using a lottery system, and now we're transitioning everything over to the local organization, Schoolmint. So from new family enrollment to returning family enrollment, and then lottery in future years. And we're working on a new website. And our goal for that new website will be for it to be user-friendly to current families, prospective families, and of course the community for information about our school. Shared commitment to student safety, and Leslie Benjamin is here. And I really appreciate that she has fully included us in all of the activities that Nevada Unified School District has taken up. School safety is, of course, extremely important to all of us. And we've appreciated being part of those meetings. We've completed our earthquake and shelter-in-place drills and student release successfully. We even had we had Bill Welch come and did a little role playing to set us up and make sure we really are prepared. The emergency alert and communication systems are operational. We of course have been using the EduLink, but now we just received our first training in the Titan HT. So we did an administrative training on that, and then we'll be looking forward to having the whole staff trained. And finally, our commitment to maintaining high-quality instruction and curriculum guided by the core principles of the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this in previous years, but the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education is a nationwide organization that supports Waldorf education within the public sector. Most of us here in this region are familiar with that via charter schools, but there are actually many schools that are running the program within their district. Our annual conference was held up at George Washington Carver High School, which is a district school offering a Waldorf high school program. So that's been, as that organization has gotten stronger and really been able to articulate the core values, it's supported our individual schools. I believe that's it.
All right, thank you. We have questions, Trustee Aguila and then Trustee Scott.
Yeah, thank you so much for your review. It's been a while, so I'm so glad to always have the charter school come and present. And thank you, Leslie, for your work with the safety issues. I was wondering about the website that you're working on, and I'm assuming you're working on also Spanish?
Of course.
Spanish? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Trustee Scott.
Can you talk a little bit more about the Schoolmint? How is that working with the lottery? Tell me how, just walk me through it. I'm not familiar with it.
So previously, and I'm going to forget the name of the company we had been working with to run our lottery so that families would input their information, and that company would, with us, of course, they have a sandbox where we can see that information and make sure we have all the documentation, and then their system would run our lottery in the springtime. We wanted a little bit more than that and also felt that company was far away. I believe they're located in Florida. So we had the recommendation of Schoolmint, which is just based out of San Rafael. And they could not only run our lottery, but take care of more needs. So such as the forms, the online forms, enrollment, and hold all of that information. And again, we were pleased to be able to meet personally with the company and really feel that our needs would be taken care of. So we started with the brand new families that are coming in right now are our guinea pigs, and they're going through the process of filling out the documents, which Leslie and I were just talking about. Some of them are your documents because, again, you hold a lot of our student data. So they're completing their enrollment online. Our second phase will be that returning families, instead of getting that back to school paper stack to fill out, they'll be able to do that same thing. It'll just be exactly the same documents online. And then finally, families that want to apply for enrollment will use that organization to complete all of their paperwork, and that'll be held and gathered and then available when we run the lottery next spring.
And how long is your waiting list? I'm assuming you have one if you're running a lottery.
Correct.
How many students are on your wait list?
I think that's different per grade,
Okay.
and I don't have that information at my fingertips.
And then in terms of the lottery, is there a calculated order in terms of selection process?
So there's preference. So we have faculty, full-time faculty as first preference, and then returning or siblings of current students, and then Novato Unified School District residents.
Okay.
And at this point, we're close to 100% Novato Unified School District enrolling all new families.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Trustee Mack.
Just want to say thank you. Yeah, this is all great stuff. I know we were talking in the past, and you've made a lot of progress. This is really good stuff. Really appreciate you embracing all that. It's I can see you guys are really making a lot of progress toward diversity, doing everything you can, and as well, even with the lottery side of things, good stuff. And you just answered my question. I was going to percent out of district. I guess you guys are pretty much approaching 100% just our district. So I would guess, so you still have some pretty heavy demand from outside of the district if you were to allow it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just interesting to consider. These guys know I'm big about getting people from outside the district. But anyway, we can figure that out later. The only kind of lingering thing for me, and this is really just a factor of just birthdays and dates. Pre-K, the kids come in and they get in, and then it kind of makes it impossible again as a kindergartner because the pre-Ks kind of took it. Well, or maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but is that still an issue you guys are trying to work through?
Well, I think I understand what you're saying, and I think it's the same thing within the public school,
Well,
because
it
it's
is.
not
It
a
is.
full, TK doesn't cover a full year, right? And so yes, there are some children that will never be eligible for TK.
No, it's just
right?
an issue
Because
with
of
you
their-
guys because you have the wait list, that's all. But
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question is. We don't have the rollover wait list any longer.
Right.
So we had talked about that.
Okay. Okay. I don't know the answer to that. It seems that the kids that are in that birthday window kind of have a built-in advantage, and maybe we can put our heads around how to figure that out. But because it only really comes up in a situation where you have a wait list like you guys do.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
and we just have to figure that out.
Right.
So anyway, thank you.
Trustee Cooper.
Nikki, I just want to say thank you, echo what everyone else has said, for embracing this, what we've kind of talked about over the years, and love your presentation tonight. I did have a question. Your free and reduced jumped significantly. What's the cause of that, do you suppose?
I'm not sure.
Hard to say.
Yeah, we're a small population.
Yeah,
So when we're
students.
looking at percentages, when we have jumps either way, it often is just a few students. I mean, we're not a real big pool, so sometimes that can be.
That's true.
But certainly, again, that's all we have to go with, and I think that's a good direction to be going.
That's
yeah.
true. And then the last thing was regarding the connectivity in the classrooms. Is there anything else we can do? I know Yancey's working with you. That was just a kind of a flag for me that we need to get that.
Right. I think we're working on it. Yeah. The Yancey's
Good.
not here quite yet, but we're working on it. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Trustee Millerick.
Good evening. Thank you. A couple of questions. First is the state mandates online testing.
Mm-hmm.
So is it true that your students participate in the online testing the same as the rest of the NUSD population? Is that a correct statement?
Great question. So our students 5th through 8th grade participate in the online testing just as all of your students do. For the last few years, we have requested the paper and pencil option for our 3rd and 4th graders because, again, our pedagogical belief that we should delay introduction of the technology until everything is in place otherwise. That option is most likely going to be going away. So we have had we've really appreciated being able to present the 3rd and 4th graders with the paper and pencil option. But if that's no longer an option, we'll make do.
So the good news is, or bad news, I'm not sure, is I was at the supermarket the other day actually and saw the same event in my granddaughter's presence. The 1-year-old's playing with an iPad, doing Pop the Bubbles, and has good mastery of technology. And I'm going, okay, well, let me see, did the world actually change enough that the days of slide rules and green screen computers have gone into the ancient past, and maybe the constraints of technology, which clearly your program is sensitive to, and would prefer a paper pencil, maybe they're not as onerous as they were 10 years ago. Maybe that the industry's actually done a better job of creating an interface that isn't quite so machine focused as opposed to human focused. So it's interesting you've still opted for paper and pencil. That was really the kind of where I was trying to figure out is how you would honored your pedagogical view and also the technology requirements. So in terms of the rest of the program, are you able to get services to make sure your students have access to the tools?
In terms of preparing them.
You commented you were having some network issues, and I'm just wondering if you're actually getting a decent experience, so it's a viable solution.
Yeah, we're working really hard with Yancey and the IT department, so I'm sure we'll have that worked out. Yeah.
Okay, and then I think it's probably a topic for a different meeting than this meeting, but I believe we review your financial position, Yancey does, and we get a report either annually that looks at the financial health. And I think that's not part of the topic this evening, that's some other.
He provided it in our update. I asked about it a month ago, and he provided the response that he provides them, that our business department provides to you. He sent it to the board, so, it's one of our financial due diligence oversight.
We're doing our job the way we're supposed to. Okay,
Yeah.
that was really my question. Thank you very much.
Can I just mention one last thing about technology, because I think there's a real misunderstanding about our belief of technology, and we're not afraid of it, and we value it, and I believe that we bring it to the students in a very responsible manner beginning in 5th grade. And I think that we have a pretty good track record of sending our students to the high schools, both local high schools and other high schools, more than prepared. So we're not, what is the word, Luddites, or living under a Cabbage Patch leaf, right? I believe in technology, we do, but we want to be really responsible about it. It's one of the reasons why I really value the cyber civics program, because we're starting with the ethical, as well as you can be a producer and a consumer. And this is a dangerous tool, we all know. And if we want them to be as developed as much as possible before we give them that tool, and they begin to interact with that shield of the screen, I think we as adults still make errors in that realm. So just to sort of increase that understanding that we're very intentional and responsible about it.
Just to follow up on what you said. Sorry, one last one. The high schoolers that are coming in, is there data around that in terms of their technical ability?
You know,
electronics?
Mr. Kinney is our tech chair, and we've gone and visited the high schools and asked what they needed to do. We actually went and visited Hamilton as well when they were first starting to use the iPads. So we took a real responsible look at what they need to know coming into the high schools, because we want to ensure that our students can leave our 8th grade ready to be successful in whatever program they're going to.
Great, thank you so much.
Trustee Nell.
Hello. So it's always a pleasure. I just wanted to tell you that you guys have an excellent school and an excellent reputation, and I'm just proud to be in the community and to be part of what you guys do. So congratulations on another good year. It's interesting you brought up the technology part, and I was glad to hear that you're working with our tech department and that you're integrating the Aries thing. And there's a key between 8th grade and high school that we're working on, and there's some behavioral things, and I forget maybe what we call it, the Indigo program, where we give kids a behavioral test, kind of characteristic personality, and I think that for your students who are going to go to one of our high schools, that it's a good thing that they're already in Aries, that information is carried forward, and so I'm hoping that as we work on developing our graduate profile and the future of our kids, that we can sort of sync that 8th grade to 9th grade transition with that career outlook as well for the kids that are going to make the transition. So I look forward to continue to work with you on that, and I hope that our technology department can help you with those technical issues absolutely as much as possible. What we haven't really talked about too much or not at all is, you brought it up at the end, but I'd kind of like to hear you say what, it's not a test or anything, but like, what are the Waldorf core values? And
that's funny you ask.
Please tell us more about why the Waldorf values.
Do you want me to be here all night? I'm happy to.
No, but I think this is an opportunity. The well-being of the entire child. Tell us why it's such a good thing.
Right. Well, actually, it's funny that you said that, because I was just looking, and now I'm not going to be able to find it, but I was just looking at the again, if you Google the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education, you'll get to their website, and it has all kinds of information. Of course, now it's not pulling up. But I think you actually would appreciate them, and I think that they would align. Sorry. Let me just find this. So there are 7 core principles. And the first one is the image of the human being. Public Waldorf education is founded on a coherent image of the developing human being. The second one is child development. An understanding of child development guides all aspects of the educational program to the greatest extent possible within established legal mandates. 3 is social change through education. Public Waldorf education exists to serve both the individual and society. Human relationships. Public Waldorf schools foster a culture of healthy relationships. 5 is access and diversity. Public Waldorf schools work to increase diversity and access to all sectors of society. Collaborative leadership. School leadership is conducted through shared responsibilities within established legal structures. And 7 is schools as learning communities. Public Waldorf schools cultivate a love of lifelong learning and self-knowledge. And these really live quite strongly amongst the faculty and the work that we're doing. We're doing a lot of work on ourselves. We're actually going to be doing, which Jim first introduced me to, is Strengths Finder work with the faculty, and then we want to bring that to the students. After we do that work, we have professional development days when we return in August, where the faculty works together for 3 days to really set the tone and prepare for the school year. And that's what we've taken up books. Mindset we did last year with the Ball of Physics. We've also done Drive by Daniel Pink. And now we're turning towards Strengths Finder. And a gentleman named Dr. Paul Porter, does anybody know him? He's a professor up at Sonoma State University in the education department. He's going to come down and lead us through that work. So we're excited about that. So those are the 7 core principles which really guide us and keep us anchored. And you might have heard, again, back to the technology, we try to stay as true to that as possible, our view of the developing child.
So I'm glad that you had an opportunity to say that. In as a complicated and divided country and world that we have right now, the things that you just talked about need to be emphasized and spoken out loud more often. And the fact that your school is focused on this and teaching children the part about education and social culture, that's just excellent. So again, we're very proud to be associated with you, and I hope that you begin every meeting telling us what those core values are and the contributions that you're making to our community. So thank you very much.
Trustee Aguila?
Well, and the technology part also fits into the human relationship too.
Yeah.
So, great.
All right, I don't have too much more to add, but we really appreciate you coming every year. This was probably one of the best presentations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Agree.
always,
they'll
and
always
always
come.
bringing the students.
Yeah.
This was our last student presentation for the school
great.
year, so you're always the last one, and it's always good.
Yeah.
And music is always involved, I think. So
it is,
it's been
yeah.
really nice, and you're making great strides. And this is, I say it every year, it's a great partnership with Nevada Unified.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we're out there and we talk about our district, we always say we have a charter school, and it's a good relationship and a good partnership that works. And so we couldn't ask for anything better. And you're doing a lot of work to embrace the change of technology and things like that, but also keeping the integrity of the Waldorf inspired. So thank you so much.
You're always welcome to visit, any
Yeah.
of you. So our doors are open. We'd love to have you. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, the next item is another staff report. This is school climate presentation. And Yvonne is going to kick it off. Yeah, no.
All right, thank you, Nikki, once again. So our next staff report is around our social emotional programming that we have district-wide. I want to invite Evie Zarowski, who's our prevention program coordinator, who's fully funded by the Peter Haas family through Healthy Novato initiative. Healthy Novato, as you know, is a partnership that we have with other agencies such as now the North Marin Community Clinic Services. I'll get it. I was close. Also YLI, the Youth Leadership Institute. So we also have the YMCA currently this year, and then North Bay Security is part of it as well. So we all meet together once a month, about 7:30 in the morning, and we look at data. We look at what are we doing, what's happening out at our school sites. And one of the focus that we do is around the social emotional behavior around the bullying. So today you're going to see a lot of data. You're going to hear about the different surveys that we have. So I want to invite Abby to come on up and to take us through this quick path so that you're all aware of what's happening, and then also what are our next steps that we need to do to continue to support all of our students district-wide. So thank you, Abby.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for giving me time to present. I'll try not to make the data too boring or too, because we could absolutely go over it for hours, right? So we'll be highlighting just a few things. I did put together a lot of data based off of the Youth Truth Survey and the NUSD Bullying Survey. Both of these surveys were funded by Peter E. Haas Jr. Family Fund and the Marin Community Foundation. So I'd like to take a moment just to thank them for their continued support and commitment to the district and the Novato community. So there's a little bit of difference between the Youth Truth Survey and the Bullying Survey. Our Bullying Survey is done every other year, alternating with the California Healthy Kids Survey. So this was actually done last May, so May of 2017. And we ask for the perception within a 30-day window. Whereas Youth Truth Survey, this is the first year that we've done it, so it's foundational information, and they ask throughout the year. So there's 28% on the bullying survey last year with 34%, but I think having that different window, we probably even out at about 30% then, which is also consistent through the middle and the high school as well, that we'll see on these slides. The Youth Truth Survey also allowed us to take a snapshot of student perception on relationships with teachers, as well as with their peers in their school culture. There's quite a bit of difference, you'll notice, with the relationship with teachers, relationship with peers, and school culture. At the middle school, it's 44%, 54%, and 37%. And then at the high school, it dips considerably, except for the peers, on their perception of a positive relationship with their teacher and with their school culture. So that was interesting to see. It's also, if we go back to the middle school, you'll notice that when you review the data, it's the highest when looking at bullying data. And then it steadily declines in high school as students mature and learn how to handle the conflicts and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty consistent. We also surveyed the staff for the bullying survey, and 327 staff members participated, with 63% reporting that they had witnessed bullying and 57 intervened to stop the situation. Also to note is 63% of the respondents believe that we need more bullying prevention, intervention training across the school and the district. We also took a look at the Youth Truth data for staff as well as families and as well as with the students. And I didn't put all three on the same slide because it's hard to compare those. The reports aren't the same. So just focusing on the staff and families, but noticing that the big thing in this data is that there's a big disparity between how we view we are respecting others and how we view others respecting us. And there's a large disparity, and it's true of all three populations with the staff, the families, and the students. So trying to work a little bit on closing that gap as well with the perceptions. So we also conducted a quick survey in the fall. We had 167 certificated staff respond regarding social emotional programming, and this was to update a matrix that we had presented to you earlier this year to sort of get a grasp on the social emotional programming within the district. So what we found in this quick survey is that 80% of the respondents believe that it's important to very important to have social emotional learning in the classroom, and 65% of those participants have the confidence to present that curriculum or programming. And then 84% believe it's very important to build community in the classroom, with 59% believing that they're effective in being able to build that community. So based on that data, where are we going from here? So especially highlighted in the last couple of slides, we believe that it's important to support the teachers to increase their confidence in being able to present classroom building, programming opportunities, as well as present any other social emotional learning curriculum that may come into place. So it will be very important to help the teachers, and that will be a PK-12 focus. And then this supporting any social emotional learning that's already going on in place. So several of our elementary schools have a second step. Some of the middle schools are using no bully solution teams. So just figuring out how district resources as well as Healthy Novato can help support those programmings, can help support teachers in becoming more confident. So we'll be focusing more on the elementary schools in that way. And then integrate the behavioral and social skills building approach. So connecting school counselors, outside counselors, Healthy Novato partners, just pulling all of those pieces together and making sure that we're collaborating and not overlapping, and that we're using resources effectively and efficiently. Also provide training for campus supervisors, yard supervisors, along with the supports. So the idea of this is we do a lot of programming in the classrooms and school-wide, but we don't always pull in yard supervisors so they know how we're talking to students. So they know how to help students work their way through the conflict on the playgrounds or anywhere else. So that's what that is to sort of combine all of that, because we're doing great stuff in the classrooms and school-wide. We just need to pull in that piece as well. And then implement a district restorative practices program, and that will be focused next year on the secondary schools and hope to absorb the elementary schools into that, but we've got a lot going on with the P3 programming. So we didn't want to put anything extra in there, but we will be reaching out to, as I have for the last several years, reaching out to the elementary schools and making sure that we're supporting and designing a program that fits what they're already doing. Okay. So some of these action steps have actually started these conversations around identifying resources and pulling them together and figuring out how best to pull them together. And we've had a lot of challenges this year, I think, that have focused us and helped us realize that we really do have good supports in this district. We just need to pull all the pieces together. So when we do have crises, and hopefully it won't be as many as there were this year, we will be able to send out our resources with total confidence that everybody's going to have the same message and everybody's going to get the resources that they need. So.
Questions?
I knew there were, yeah.
Questions from Trustee Mack and then Trustee Cooper.
Thank you for putting this together. I really appreciate how you put the youth truth survey against the bullying survey. It really kind of helps to compare things and see if we have some continuity. And really looking forward to seeing more youth truth stuff, because I understand it's just a baseline. But one thing, and this is really just looking for guidance. I'm looking at, we had the side-by-side, the youth truth survey staff, the youth truth survey families slide. Maybe it's like a couple back. Yeah. If you can go that one.
Yep.
Yes. And I'm just seeing a drop-off in respect in high school, just across the board. And wondering, I mean, anecdotally, you got any thoughts? And is there something we're not doing? Or is it just teenagers? I mean, what do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So basically,
because it goes to teachers too, toward the students as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is really, really interesting data, and I could totally nerd out on this, and we could really get deep with it, but we don't have enough time for that, right? So, but yeah, it's interesting to see those trends. When you think about the schools, you know, elementary school, it's fuzzy, everybody's giving hugs, and they're happy to, you know, it's easier at that level. And there's a lot more parent engagement, and it's easier to pull those teachers and families in together and have more time for conversation. That drops off at middle school, and it drops off big time again at the high school level. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of this data sort of coming down.
Right, but we're also seeing it with regard to the teachers towards students as well.
Correct.
And I'm just wondering if there's something we might want to kind of look at, talk with the principals, be a little more proactive, find ways we can get engaged, and not just accept that there's a drop-off in parental and engagement. I mean, I don't believe, well, I know it's true. I don't believe it has to happen, is what I'm trying to say. Because if we're not engaging kids or their family, we're missing something. And
Correct.
I understand we got to focus on the real stuff, the real end results, scores, grades, those sort of things.
Right.
But there's engagement, and there's stuff that goes on outside of the classroom that drives that.
Correct. And the more a student is engaged, and this shows in our academics and test scores, the more a student is engaged in the school community, the more successful they're going to be. And yes, I think it's definitely a multi-pronged approach. I know, as having kids who have gone, K through 12, not in this district, but back in Illinois and a little bit here, but that this is actually pretty nationwide. And we tend to think inside our boxes of bringing families to the school. You need to come to school and have a meeting. You need to do, come here, come here. And I think we need to burst that box open. And we've got to go out into the community. We've got to go out and reach them where they are and start building those relationships in a non-threatening way so that they can feel inviting or sorry, I'm nervous. They can feel welcomed when they come on campus. So we need to definitely build those communities. We also need to definitely support our teachers more as well in that. I think there's this perception of needing to be a certain way as students mature, but I actually happen to think that families as well as teachers, the teenagers are actually the ones that need our support the most. Those are the risk-taking years. Those are the years when we still have influence, even if it doesn't feel like we do, we still have influence. So bursting those boxes open, and I think starting with staff and with parents, I know Healthy Novato's focus is shifting, so so we draw in more parent engagement. So there's some things that we're going to be putting into place next year as well to help absorb some of that. And that's June 19th's presentation, so just a sneak peek at that. But Healthy Novato's focus is going to be still remaining on the students, but also how do we engage parents more.
I would just ask as we go forward next year, let's kind of focus on those and see if things have changed.
Yeah.
So you'll start getting some trend out of this as well.
Right. I love this foundational, but you're exactly right. Let's see how this changes when we do it again
Great.
next year.
Thank you.
And how also the California Healthy Kids Survey is going to fit into this as well, because we just completed that as well.
Trustee Cooper?
And I totally agree with that. I'm looking forward to the subsequent years and in the out years to see with all the hard work. And thank you very much for everything and bringing this to us.
Thank you.
I have a couple comments and maybe a couple questions, but so how does this compare with what, I mean, we don't know what improvement we're going to make or not, but how does this, what's your general take on all this? Is this standard, normal, or are we on one extreme, or?
I don't think we're an extreme. I think this is, from districts that I've worked in prior,
Yep.
this is pretty true.
Okay.
But it's all in, what do we do with that? How do we address this? Are we going to address it? So I'm really excited to be part of the Novato School District. So those answers become yes, and we are going to do something
You're right,
about this.
right.
Because there are so many places that look at the data and go, oh, this isn't good, and keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, you know what was really
Yeah, it's
what was
very
really
scary.
scary to me was one of these statistics was would 50% of people of staff were interviewed, and did they stop the situation? And only 50% said
Correct.
yes, 57%.
And I think
thought that's a good place to start right there.
exactly.
Should be 100%.
Yes. And I think it's also a lot of us don't do anything because we don't know what to do. So it's one of those issues that comes with how do we engage bystanders in bullying situations or in conflict situations and not getting students, to feed into it.
Right.
And it all comes down to education. It all comes down to exposure with skills in order to know what to do to intervene.
Right.
So I don't think it's a place of I don't want to intervene. It's I don't know how to intervene.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I think there's sometimes also a protective factor that's like, okay, this needs to go to the office. And it becomes a discipline issue, whereas if we interrupted it in the same time and place, it could be de-escalated and everything's
Yeah.
fine.
And I suppose restorative justice comes into play at some point along the way.
Correct.
To be a really good solution. And then you've got a lot of great ideas in here, and
Thank
one
you.
of them, you're talking about training the campus supervisors, and has that started, or is that just the plan moving forward?
It has started on a few of the elementary programs with restorative justice, really pretty consistently at Rancho, and I think they presented the last time, correct? So they've actually been implementing restorative services for 3 years. And a little bit at Loma Verde that first year too. They've also expanded for the last 2 years along with Pleasant Valley.
Okay.
So part of the outreach will be, we don't want to conflict with what's going on with the elementary schools, with the great equity work and with the P3 work. We want to come in and figure out how to support that and have teachers also be trained on that, so they're using restorative language. We're all using the same language in order to interrupt conflicts so they don't become bullying.
Well, great information. Thank you for your answers
you.
and your presentation.
Trustee Aguila?
Hi, Evie. How are you? Good to see you again. So, it's been months and months and months, and finally we got the data, and it took forever, but then you were also able to get the other survey and put
Correct.
it together. So thank you for doing that. It took those when the best things come to those that wait. But yeah, the data, it's great, and it's kind of sad because there's so much work to do, so much work, and that's what it tells us. So that's what I see the benefit about the data, is that it's there and it tells you what's working, what's not working, and it tells us that we have a lot to work and a lot to do. So the good things that you said was that we're focusing on elementary school. And I agree with you. I think it should be with elementary school level. And the one thing, though, is that we shouldn't forget, you also talked about focusing on the teachers and that they're the ones that need the help. And I agree with that. I think we're in 2018. I think I give teachers the benefit of the doubt that they do know what to do. It's 2018. There's a lot of agencies, a lot of materials, a lot of data out there that can help us. I believe that as far as bullying goes, I think that it all starts at home. And I believe that our parents are the ones that we need to focus on also, and not forget the parents and the students. After all, they're the ones that we're working for. And so, so having said that, we get emails all the time. The board gets emails from parents still to this day complaining about how bullying is still an issue and it's going on today. And so I'm so glad that you're here and that we're working on that and not ignoring those issues, because that's very serious. And And since I'm looking forward also to the chicks survey, and that way we can also see the three put together, and hopefully that'll be in May, or when is that?
We probably won't get that data until the fall.
Okay.
They're notoriously slow.
And I'd like to take advantage of the fact that we have a student here.
Yeah.
And if we can.
He raised his hand, so he's after you. Are you done?
Yeah, so, I really miss the days of the Bully Prevention Committee. And obviously there's a need for that. And know that there's people out there in the community that are eager and just are doing this, waiting to be called and waiting to work and volunteer. So let's not forget the committee, and let's remember that we're all in here trying to be here for the students. So thank you for your hard work. And go ahead, ask your question. I was going to ask him, but maybe you'll bring it up.
So the one thing that I really want to ask is that for this survey, it was staff and families taking them respectively, or was this also students' perspectives of how the staff, students, and families see each other?
No, this slide is just the families and the staff. It was a little hard to do side-by-side comparison with the students, and I knew all this data was an awful lot to begin with, but it's basically the same disparities in perception from group to group.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have anything else, Trustee Aguilar?
Yeah, actually, my question is for students, since we have you and we're here to listen to your voice. And we want you to be honest, and you are always honest with us, and we want to know, for you, and you don't have to be personal, but just your experience, what you see around. It doesn't have to be your experience, but it could be like your friends at school. What do you think, if you had a magic wand, what would you change, or is there anything that you would change? Anything regarding bullying or respect, or the teachers, or respect towards within the students or the parents, or just if you had a magic wand, you could change one thing.
When it comes down to, I would say mostly just respect for the teachers. I see that teachers get taken for granted a lot in some of the classes that I have, where they don't really care what's going on. They'd rather just talk to their friends or do whatever that isn't work. They come to school not doing the homework at all, and it's just like the teacher puts in so much work, and then you just have the students just not doing anything about it. Like, I hear someone come in, is like, does anyone do the homework in class? And no one's done the homework in class. It's just like, how much does the teacher have to go through, and none of it gets done? And then people ask, why am I failing this class?
Can I just want to commend you on acknowledging the teachers, how much work that they put into the classroom, trying to help the students learn. So just thank you for acknowledging that. I think that that really goes a long way, and it's nice to hear that you recognize that.
All right. I don't see any other questions, and this was a big undertaking. We understand that, and we appreciate you brought the perfect amount of information. You're providing next steps, which is huge. That always is, what are you going to do? What are we going to do about it? Not you, but what are we going to do about it? This is part of all of us, and you've done that. So I know there'll be some future reports back to us, and we'll see how's it going. So we'll check in. All right. Thank you so much.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to, this is the Elementary English Language Arts Program. Lucy Calkins, you have good night.
Thank you. See you, Sod.
You have the PowerPoint at your table in front of you. We have Michelle Stevens, and we have Yvonne here.
Okay, well, good evening, Board of Trustees and President Butler once again. So this evening today, we're here to present to you the staff report around the Elementary English Language Arts Adoption Overview. About 18 months, myself and our team came up here to request your approval to start this process of our ELA arts adoption. So 18 months later, we're here today again to give you a report on what has happened in the past 18 months. I want to thank Michelle Stevens for her leadership in this process in the past 18 months, as well as our teachers, our principals. We have Amanda Langford, one of our principals that was on the committee, and also her site for the past 3 years has been using Lucy Calkins, so it's nice to have a school site that that has been modeling the way for us with this process, as well as our instructional coaches. Our instructional coaches, what an asset to have them, to use them as a resource, and to really facilitate this process moving forward next year. And you'll hear what's going to happen next year. So I'm not going to steal Michelle's thunder here, but I just simply wanted to say thank you, Michelle, for your leadership, and come on up.
Sorry, could we have the conversation in the back? Could you, Evie?
Good evening. Thank you, Yvonne, and thank you for having me here this evening to present. I am so excited to be presenting an overview of the English Language Arts adoption process. This has been a long time in coming. So this has been a true collaboration between teachers, instructional coaches, district leadership, and our ELA advisory committee. We had 24 teachers, grades K through 5, from each of the 8 elementary schools that piloted 2 of the ELA programs with their students. Our instructional coaches supported our teachers through trainings so that they had what they needed in order to implement with fidelity. Our principals then supported also our pilot teachers, as well as working with their staff to develop knowledge around balanced literacy. And finally, the ELA Advisory Committee, which was comprised of instructional coaches, literacy coaches, principals, and teachers, really worked to make sure that the pilot process was fair, as well as clear, transparent, and well communicated out to their staff. So as Yvonne mentioned, the ELA adoption process started back in December of 2016 when the board granted approval for piloting materials and looking at the different programs. In September, after reviewing many different programs, the ELA advisory team was able to narrow it down to 2 key programs. That was Journeys and the Units of Study in Reading. And just to clarify, that's also known as, some people call it Lucy Calkins or Reader's Workshop. In January, we began a process, the piloting process, which was 2 sessions that were 6 weeks long each for the teachers to pilot both programs with their students. And then in April, when the pilot ended, the teachers then submitted data and evidence around how they use the programs with their students and what did they see, what effects did they see with their students. In May, the ELA advisory team met and reviewed the data, analyzed the data through a very comprehensive process, and was able to make a strong recommendation that the Units of Study for Reading was the best program to meet our students' diverse learning needs. One of the reasons why the team was able to make that recommendation was because they felt that this program supported current NUSD initiatives that we have in place. Our teachers have been using Units of Study in Writing for the last 5 years, and when taught in tandem with that writing program, both programs are enhanced so that students are creating more meaningful reading and writing connections. It also supports the graduate profile and the 6 C's, especially in collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. And it's easily integrated into project-based learning. Because this program so heavily relies on student voice and choice when selecting texts, it aligns very well with project-based learning and that student engagement piece. It also supports the work we've been doing at the 8 elementary sites with our pre-K 5 initiative, in that it really scaffolds learning for every student so that we're meeting students where they're at, and it individualizes learning. The program supports all learners in many ways. And it begins with the teachers really monitoring student progress very closely. And they're not just monitoring growth in reading skills, but they're also monitoring the volume that students are reading. And when teachers are doing this, they're doing it through very frequent student conferences, as well as informal running records and benchmark running records each trimester. And when teachers are looking at a student's growth, they're looking at not one particular component. They're looking at comprehension, fluency, and the development of those strategic reading skills. Once a teacher gets a really good measure of where each student is, they're able to use those differentiated instructional strategies to really hone in and support every learner. And this is where this program differs. It's key in that we're meeting students where they're at, we're identifying the level, and we're working with them to establish goals, their own reading goals. And the learning is really driven through student voice and choice. The students are encouraged to select books that interest them. And because of that, they're engaged, they're excited, they want to talk about what they're reading, they want to share it, they want to collaborate with their partners. It's an exciting thing to see when you get out to the classrooms. The program components are a big part of this program because the kids need access to such a wide variety of books and different levels. Every classroom needs to have a leveled library so that students have the ability to choose books that interest them at their level. And what this does is, as the students are able to do this, they look forward to that. They look forward to moving up in levels and grabbing different books that interest them. And as you know, when you enjoy something, when you're interested in it, your comprehension increases and your engagement increases as well. We know that for this program to work well, we have to provide our teachers with excellent professional development. And that means that it's not going to be a traditional model of just that one-stop shop at the beginning of the year when they start this program. It has to be differentiated. And, you know, as you know, Amanda Langford and Dana Sedon have led their sites with that early implementation of Reader's Workshop. And so you have teachers at different levels of implementation. We need to support all teachers so that those teachers who are very familiar with it can go deeper, and teachers who have never seen it before get that initial training. It also needs to be strategic. We need to be delivering training what the teachers need when they need it. What that means is it needs to be ongoing throughout the school year and multi-year. We can't just do it once and then stop. We need to be supporting our teachers. In this model, we need to involve our instructional coaches so that they are working side by side with the teachers. And when the trainers leave, our instructional coaches then can get in and work with our teachers individually as well as grade level support. So a little bit of research around the Reader's Workshop model. Students who learn how to read within this model overall outperform students by over 10%. This is especially true for our English learners and students with disabilities. These numbers even increase more when the program is taught with a high level of fidelity and when teachers receive excellent professional development. So I want to end the presentation tonight with a quote from one of our teachers who piloted the Readers Workshop. And they said, "This program has the greatest chance of turning our students into not just proficient, but prolific readers who actually love to read. I do believe that loving to read is one of the predictors of success in school from elementary through college." And this is the key. We want our students to learn the skills of reading and writing, but we want them to develop a deep love so that they take that with them throughout life. And so that's basically the presentation. And I'd love to answer questions for you. I also invited Amanda Langford, who has attended the leadership training in New York for the last 2 years and really sort of led the way with implementing early with her staff.
Yeah, Amanda, could you come up and just speak to your piloting it and the experience at your site? And how you don't like it? No, I'm just kidding.
So we started this journey about 3 years ago. When I first started at San Ramon, and we had some big budget cuts, and we were looking at our data and trying to figure out where we needed to cut funds versus where we need to concentrate on funds. And for us, the big focus was, our reading, that with the population we had, and our reading score should have been a lot higher. And so it really caused us to look at our focus areas, which became literacy. And then with that, we started with some research. We created a mission and vision on literacy, and that was to create a learning community that established a love of literacy for a foundation of lifelong learning. And then we began to figure out, why are our kids not doing as well as they were? And one big piece of it was engagement. And we realized that the kids just weren't engaged necessarily in the reading that was going on in the classroom. And it wasn't for lack of trying, but the program that we had at the time really didn't look at differentiating and meeting the kids' individual needs. And so then we started looking at, well, what's out there that potentially does. And this was one of the programs. So the reading program came out actually 2 years ago. So that research was done the first year. Then my second year at San Ramon, I had about half my staff was like, let's do this, let's try this. And so we did start to phase in the reading workshop components, and found right away that one of the things that skyrocketed was engagement. And if the kids, as Michelle mentioned before, if they're engaged in learning, a lot of, that's the first battle. And the reason that happens is what's so exciting is the students get a mini lesson. And the mini lesson each day has a teaching point. There's definitely direct instruction. It's really targeted 15 minutes of direct instruction on the teaching point. And then from that point on, it's, okay, off you go. So you've learned a strategy for the day, and then you have books at your level. You don't have the same anthology that all 30 kids or all 20 kids are going to read that may be too hard or may be too easy. As you saw some of the kids in the pictures, they have a book box that has books at their level based on their assessments. And so the kids are able to go back and look at their books and work on the strategy that was taught. So right there, you're not having things that are too hard for kids, too easy for kids. And then it began for the teachers that started implementing it. It rolled out, within their grade level and to the next grade level, and, to where we are today, to where we're almost to 100% of teachers that are implementing it. We're still working on a couple components for the upper grades, but it completely started out of just our own research of trying to figure out what our kids need. Yeah.
Thank you. That was perfect. So back to the board for questions. Anybody regarding? Trustee Nell, and then Trustee Cooper.
Well, I sure wish they had a reading program like this when I was.
I agree.
I can really remember being told that that's a really, don't read that book, and I wanted to read the book. You know. Yeah. So the relevance is what I think is just super important, because every kid's a little bit different. They learn at different rates, and if they're not interested, they're just not going to pick it up. So I think you guys did a great job. I think you came up with a pretty good program. So I'm looking forward to adopting it. I know we got a few more steps to go, but it's important that you read and that you get something out of what you're reading. Unfortunately, later on in life, you learn everything you read isn't going to be so enjoying. There's things called tech manuals and budget reports and, summaries, legal briefs, emails that are in there too, I'm sure. But so, good job. I look forward to, this sounds like we've really got a good program coming. So thank you.
Trustee Cooper.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. Thank you for coming. This is really exciting. You guys are, I can tell the level of enthusiasm, and thank you for taking the time to do the pilot. This picture reminds me of the laundry basket, and my oldest, it was pretty much similar to that. So reading is really important. I just have a question about the funding, and I don't know if, oh, there you are, Yancy. I was going to give you an out, but if you're here, the estimated cost to train staff, is that an ongoing, or is that one time at the beginning? And sorry to make you walk all the way up.
All right, I was still reeling from Trustee Nell's comment about my budget reports being unreadable, but that is a one-time training cost for this year. That's not to say that we won't need additional trainings to brush up, but that is the implementation training costs as we move forward. So for the purposes of this one time.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you both.
Trustee Mack.
Well, first off, I think we're onto something. This is good stuff. I'm glad you guys did all the work, and let's get it done. Let's go. But wondering, have we learned something that maybe we should apply on the math side? Yeah, I'm seeing engagement, differentiation. Everybody should love math. Everybody's good at math. Just they got to do it their way. And I'm just kind of seeing a lot of parallels here that maybe we can kind of find a Lucy Calkins for math. I don't know. I'm sure you're already looking, but yeah. Well, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway, thank you.
Trustee Scott.
Just a comment, Michelle and Amanda, thank you so much. This is really exciting, and I appreciate both of you doing the presentation tonight. It was fabulous. I'm very excited, and I couldn't agree more with the teacher's statement. It is so, so true. So I'm just thrilled. So thank you both very much.
Yeah, this was done very well, very thorough, this process, very inclusive of everybody and everybody's opinion, and I love that you landed on Lucy Calkins. I think I've said to both of you that I like it. I saw it at PV, Pleasant Valley, the writing, and that was just huge. And then I went to San Ramon and saw the reading, and I love it too. And I'm not by far any expert at any of this, but I really think it's a great program. So thank you for all the effort and the work that you brought into this to bring this forward to us. And the board, we will have it back on the May 22nd to seek approval of the program. So do you want to, yeah.
So can you guys explain the intersection between Lucy Calkins' writing and reading, and who's doing that, and how that is writing? Just some schools are doing it and some aren't, or does we start with the reading and then we do the writing, or how does that work?
So the writing program, the way it was implemented was more of a grassroots implementation. It started with one school, and then it rolled to another, and then another. So the training was always playing catch up. And there wasn't a lot of fidelity around the writing program. So we are in part of this training with the Lucy Calkins reading. We're going to go back, and part of the training is showing how it enhances the writing. And so what our trainers have done is they've aligned it with the writing program so that when teachers are getting the reading, they're also seeing those connections to the writing. So what we're hoping is that through the reading, we're going to get a higher rate of fidelity for teaching the writing. And it's simply, I think, because we haven't had that full-scale support for the writing program. And that's why it's so essential to have this new training model. And I do realize the cost seems like a lot for 1 year. But again, this isn't just that one training piece. It is getting into each school, into those grade level classrooms, so the trainers are actually providing the training with the students in the classroom, and then the grade level teachers come in to see that training. So it's very consistent, it's very frequent, and so it's that timely piece that our teachers need.
So are all schools using Lucy Calkins writing, or just some of them?
No, they are all expected to be using Lucy Calkins writing, yes.
But they need some help.
But they're not all currently right now. Not everybody's using it. Are
Yeah,
they?
I think when I left the DO 3 years ago, all the elementary schools, that was one of the last things, all the elementary schools had purchased it. But like Michelle said, everyone was at different levels
Yeah.
as far as where everyone was implementing it.
Because I've asked.
Yeah, and so I think with that, unfortunately, because of, you know, just some of the training that we didn't realize the importance of it at the time, you know, you don't have the same buy-in. The teachers just don't have the same background and so forth. And so now we're making sure that that really is front-loaded. And they understand the baby steps of implementation, because it's a big program, but there's definitely ways to roll it out and make it work. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you
Be
so
back
much.
here on the 22nd. All right. We're on schedule. And we're moving on to
Taking that personal.
discussion action. This is approval to award contract to Bell Products Incorporated for installation of the air conditioning at San Jose. Mike Willard is here to present.
Good evening, trustees. Apologize for my voice. Took on my backyard this weekend, and my backyard won. So got some allergies that are okay. There goes the audience. So thanks for the opportunity tonight. I'm here to seek board approval to award a contract to Bell Products Incorporated for the installation of the air conditioning AC at San Jose Middle School. Just a little background. Board approved the project back in August 2017 as a phase 1 bond project. January of 2018, you approved the schematic design with a construction budget of $1,776,292. And then most recently on April 3rd, the board approved approval to go out to bid for the project. Just one note, we did reduce our construction estimate by about $200,000 due to some issues or delays we were encountering with DSA review. We just removed 2 air conditioning units from the drama and music classroom, which already have air conditioning at the moment. And it's easier to replace those as a normal maintenance project at a future date in and around the school year. But to keep that on schedule for this summer season, we did that. And then most recently, we had a bid opening on April 24th, this a couple weeks ago, and we received 2 official bids, and the low bidder was Bell Products Incorporated with a bid of $1,269,021, and we are seeking, out of Fund 22, and we are seeking approval. Superintendent staff recommend approval to award the project to Bell Products Incorporated for that amount. And I'd like to entertain any questions or concerns.
Questions from the board? Okay. All right. Trustee Cooper?
Just a quick one. Thank you for doing this. So my only concern is that we do, and it says in the report that you will fix those units in the M building or the music wing.
We will.
Kind of same kind of time frame.
We're looking at it now, but we had to separate it from that project for
Right,
the
I
DSA
understand.
review. But we're going to try this summer, and if not, we'll look at how we can get it done.
Good job, and I know San Jose is so looking forward to this. And with that, I would move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Trustee Cooper is a first. Trustee Aguila?
Second.
Is a second. Okay. And just to notify everybody, Ross, or Trustee Millerick left early on in the school climate presentation, so he's not here And he had forewarned me that he was going to be leaving. So, okay, so all in favor to approve the air conditioning and the contract, to award contract to Bell Products for installation of the air conditioning? Okay, 7-0, or 6-0. One absent. All right, thank you, Mike. And you're still up there for the
I am.
next item?
Yes, I am. Jump right into it.
Yeah, jump right
Again,
in.
good evening. Here to present the schematic design. Very exciting. One of our big projects, the schematic design for the STEM project at San Marin High School. And much like previous board, I'd like to go through a short presentation to give you a little more information on that. Before I do that, I'd like to introduce, have Todd Lee again from Greystone West, our construction management firm is here. And also from QKA, we have Steve Kwok and John Dibzak. And also like to note that Leanne Schuster, who's not here from QKA, was also a very big support piece in this as well. And I was hoping, I got Mark Sims, Dr. Sims from San Marin High School. Thanks for coming. Some of the site committee was hoping to come, but I guess they couldn't work it out. But real quick, just to remind the board, the purpose of the schematic design, again, is just to get the general size, shape, and location of the facility, present the budget, present a schedule, and then confirm that we have met all the programmatic needs of the program, in this case, the STEM program at San Marin. So with that, I will jump into the presentation. And just quick agenda, go over the site location really quick, a little bit of the background on the building, and talk about the site committee, and then turn it over to QK to talk more specifics about the building, and then finish up with the cost estimate and the schedule, and then happy to entertain any questions or concern that you have. So with that, site location. This is San Marin campus, and the yellow circle, tried to stick with the school colors here, is currently over a couple of modular classrooms, and looking to move those temporarily for the next school year, and then put the STEM building right there. And it, basically, it's, and I know these guys are going to tell a little more, but it sort of completes the end of the campus. If you look at the central corridor of the campus, this is a nice ending piece that will kind of complete that. So, general information about the building. It's a little over 20,000 gross square feet. This, again, similar to the Nevada one, it's a 10 lecture lab rooms versus 5 classrooms and 5 labs, which is the premise we started out with, but quickly realized that wouldn't support the classroom needs. This is a little bit different. Breakdown is we have 4 rooms dedicated for biology. As you know, San Marin has a CTE certified STEM program, so they have very unique needs to support that, and this was the breakdown of those lecture lab rooms. So 4 for biology, 2 for chemistry, 2 for biotech, which also has a specialized prep room you'll hear a little more about soon, and then 2 rooms for the physics. And their classrooms, lecture lab rooms, range from about 1,240 square feet to just over 1,400 square feet, so rather large compared to a standard 960 classroom. This building also includes 2 student study group rooms. Blah, medication's really hitting. I have an office, as you've heard from the STEM program. There's a couple opportunities for a STEM director, and then some other uses for visiting presenters for the program, to use that as some office space, and then the normal support spaces for staff, prep and work area, and of course the 11 mechanical spaces, storage and general circulation space. So at this point, this was a great project in that we had a site committee that came to the table with a very detailed vision and plan. And I know these guys will back it up, but they basically started the conversation, they laid out what they would like, and they took notes, and we came back for the next go around and pretty much had the design you're going to see. So it was very easy to work with this group. They're very passionate, very energetic, and obviously they had thought about this for a long time. And so it's very exciting to be doing this to help them meet their vision with this kind of new state-of-the-art facility. So I'd like to thank Dr. Sims and his staff, the site committee, for helping us out with that and really made this a fun project. So with that, I would like to turn it over to John, okay, and let you all go through more, just the right arrow when you're ready to go.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Happy to be here to present the schematic design for the new STEM building at San Marin High School. As Mike mentioned, we've been working with the with Mike and Yancey and Dr. Sims and his science department for several months now. I think we've met probably about a half a dozen times to talk initially about kind of what, how they teach, what kind of facilities they need to be able to deliver their curriculum, and kind of how we can implement a architectural solution that really kind of supports their program. And I think we probably had almost every science teacher involved with these site committees meetings. And really, really good group of people to work with. We've got a lot of information from them that really helped us kind of come to a schematic plan fairly quickly. And so I'll present that to you here. This is a image of the entire campus, and you can see the yellow box there is the site where there's currently some portable classrooms as well as some maintenance storage. And one of the first things that we noticed visiting the site is that if you look on, you can kind of see it fairly clearly from the front of the school going all the way back to the project site. There's that kind of curving promenade pathway that kind of cuts through the entire campus. And right now what you have is it kind of dissolves into a parking area. I don't think it's not a parking lot, but it's a paved area that people park in, so in front of those portables. And so we thought, you know, this is a really good opportunity, and having just, I think it was like 1 or 2 quick discussions with the site committee, we developed this kind of quick sketch that kind of shows a concept of what this end of the campus can be, kind of the terminus of the educational part of the campus before you transition out into the sports area. And so we kind of envision that meandering pathway that cuts through the campus can terminate at an area that would include the STEM building, but across the plaza there is the old shops building, which is kind of a maker space, kind of a lab building, kind of multi-use building right now. And then you've got the existing performing arts facility, and then next to where the STEM building is there's music and there's arts in there. So you kind of have the makings of a real natural, you know, not STEM but STEAM with the addition of the art programs, and that could be the kind of the anchor for that west. I think it's the west end of the campus, and maybe there's some sort of a more formal gate there that transitions from the academic side of the school out to where you've got the ball fields and the athletics. And so we kind of looked at that and how the STEM building could fit into there using the program that the site committee developed. And a lot of this is kind of an extension of what was done as part of your master plan that was done a few years ago. We kind of just picked up the ball and ran with that. But seeing how we could fit in this, you know, this building with the program, incorporate maybe some more parking, since we're trying to pull that parking or the cars that are parking inside the, you know, the kind of the campus area, pull those out into a parking area and create this plaza, this educational plaza that can be used for outdoor classroom, outdoor learning spaces, gathering, you know, outdoor auditorium possibly, things like that, that really support kind of the STEM or the STEAM if the school chooses to develop it a little bit further. Unfortunately, we don't have enough money in the budget to do all of this at one time. So this sketch was really meant to be more of kind of like a continuation of the master plan, which is really a living document. And this is a little bit more detailed than what was in the master plan to show how this particular part of the campus can really be developed in the future. So we're just focusing on the actual building here. As Mike mentioned, there's 10 labs in here. There's 2, I don't know if this is going to work on your screen there, but working up from the top right there, you can see the entry plaza into the building. And then just to the left of that, there's 2 chemistry labs, which have fixed casework. Those are the only labs that have fixed casework. And I'm going to let Steve talk a little bit about the interior of the building and present some images of the kinds of things we're trying to incorporate into this building. But we have 2 chemistry labs. On the lower left of this drawing here, there's 2 the biotech labs. Oh, nice, Yancy. And then in the center there, the 4 classrooms that are kind of around a little square common area are biology, and then on the far right, there's 2 physics labs. Oh, there you go. And so in between all of this, we've got these corridor spaces that we've intentionally made a little bit wider so that you've got a lot of breakout space for students to work and, independently outside of the classroom. In between the two physics labs over here, there's two smaller group study rooms that can accommodate 6 to 8 students to work with. You know, there could be a TV, and they could be working on laptops and small independent study projects without disrupting classroom activities. And then in the hallway, the large hallway, where we envision that there could be some workstations there where you may get professionals from the biotech industry, for example, who comes and works with students on projects, and there's individual workstations there where they can have small breakout work areas, things like that. And then the purple area on the left, that's kind of the core space for the building that includes the prep room, the teacher's workroom, the electrical, mechanical room, and the small office that Mike had mentioned. Okay. And then some image. These are just really kind of conceptual images. A lot of the actual finishes, the colors, and the materials have yet to be decided on. We just put something on here to just show kind of the scale of the building and what, you know, kind of the form and what it could look like. This is a aerial view looking kind of down on the building from the plaza area, and you can see the tall sloped roof that runs down. That kind of goes over the hallway area where we see a lot of natural light. Perhaps the paving from the plaza area kind of continues inside the building and outside the back. We're not doing a whole lot of work around the building. We're just going to try and tie it into kind of the existing landscaping for budgeting so that we can hit the budget primarily. Here's a kind of an eye level if you were walking from the main campus towards the building. I probably shouldn't have put so many trees in the way, but you can kind of see the tall popped up building kind of draws you into the building. And the plaza, that's another thing that still has to be developed with our landscape architect and the site committee to see how we can make that plaza function really as an outdoor learning, outdoor classroom space, as well as probably a big for socialization as well. And then another view, kind of eye-level view, looking at the entry into the building. The chemistry classrooms are on the right there. If you go into the glass doors in there, you'd go into the hallway that leads to the biotech, and then the biology classrooms are on the left. And then a view kind of coming from the ball field side of the site. And I think with that, I'll let Steve talk a little bit about some of the interior. These are conceptual images of what we're trying to do on the interior of the building.
Thanks, John. So what we thought we'd do is, because we are at this conceptual stage and just getting ready now really to get into the nuts and bolts of how we're going to design the building and some of the functions, we wanted to share with you some of the ideas that go into these buildings as we begin to develop them. So these are some of the sort of the high-level topics, if you will, but we thought the images would be instructive so that you get an idea of what the building will look like when it gets done. So there's some ideas that we go forward with designing any actual educational facility, but particularly in STEM. And one of those is flexibility. We're hearing a lot about that in education, and as a matter of fact, we're working on the model classrooms right now for Lou Sutton and for San Jose, and that's a big issue, and that also goes to science as well. So having furniture that's able to be moved around and to be reconfigured to do various things. You can see on the upper left there, there's a stress test going on there on a bridge that the students have made. But then just being able to have a variety of configurations for the labs. Excuse me. The only exception to that, of course, is chemistry, because of the infrastructure with the gas and the water and electricity and that sort of thing, which is needed at the table. So those don't move around quite so much. We do a lot of labs with overhead utility so that we can pull down on reels, power, and data, so it's available, again, right at the location where the students are doing their works. We tend to do taller ceiling in these spaces because they are larger spaces. And a taller ceiling is just spatially more comfortable, kind of like this space. This is about the size of the space that the lab is going to be. So you need ceilings that are somewhere between 10 and 12 feet, somewhere in that range. And, again, it's for spatial comfort, but also in these labs, sometimes you need a little height to do things in order to do the curricular things. And we like to have our buildings be sort of a 3D textbook. So we like to expose structure, particularly in labs. When you're talking about physics, you can talk about the forces and the structure and how they resist those forces and that sort of thing. So Also in labs, just like in any other classroom, we like to have a lot of daylight coming into our labs. You know, there's lots and lots of research showing that students are more comfortable and actually perform better when they're in spaces where there's abundant daylight and they can also see out. So we do that in our labs. The lab actually on the right-hand side at Healdsburg High School not only has windows, but actually has a big garage door that they can open up. And you know, sometimes experiments go awry and you need to air the labs out a little bit, so that's not a bad thing. But it also allows that education to move outside very easily as well, so we like to do things like that. And we like these spaces to have some color in them, not overly so, but you know, to make them interesting, sort of vibrant spaces. Excuse me, I also have the allergy thing going. And what we try to do for students too is emulate what they're going to find when they leave high school. So we try to make these spaces the kind of spaces they're going to find when they go to college and then on into the professional world, and create those environments for them, which also means a lot of technology. And so again, what we want to have in these labs is that very robust, ubiquitous technology backbone and support, so they can do anything that requires that as well. These are obviously hands-on spaces, so they're designed to be that. We design them so, for instance, the floors are easily cleaned. We have acid-resistant tops. You know, there's a lot of messy stuff going on in labs, as there should be. And so we want them to be able to hold up well. And of course, that works. Science labs are almost kind of like the definition of project-based learning. And so we're trying to create an environment that supports that sort of thing. And then collaboration, one of your C's, is a big one, and so we try to create spaces that allow that collaboration to happen. As you can see, these are 3 spaces that do that, where you can have groups come together and work. And in the lower right-hand corner, left-hand corner, I'm sorry, you know, is what John was talking about, that wide hallway sort of things where students can gather and work and have some space. So we don't design hallways just as passageways to go in between classes, but we make them large enough so that they can be useful. John showed you the high windows on that high span, you know, that goes down the length of the building along the chemistry and biotech labs. But when you turn the corner, there's also a very large skylight in the middle of the hallway going in the other direction. So again, giving some space for students to do that work in the group study. Have enough room for class projects and that sort of thing. And that also includes outside spaces, which what we see the plaza will be doing on this project as well, giving a place for these kind of projects to happen. So I think with that, yeah, we're happy to take any questions that you might have.
Do the questions get it real quick, and then we'll get all the questions if that's all right. Thanks. So lastly, just the cost estimate. Currently, $13,806,149 for the project you just saw, and construction schedule very similar, where we mobilize the summer right after the end of school year, summer 19, continue through that construction through that summer months into the fall and winter, and the remainder of that school year, and finish by the beginning of the 2020-21 school year. By August of 2020 be the completion date. And with that,
all right.
You gotta wait for the question
Yeah.
slides.
Questions. Board.
Very happy to entertain any questions or concerns you have regarding.
Nope. Yeah, if you want to go, then Shelley.
It's strange without Ross here, because he's always
I
jumping
know.
right in.
Oh.
Then again, I'm guilty too. So. Can you flip back to the overhead slide? The satellite picture?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Needs to say, I love the design. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a great addition to the campus. It's going to really enhance the mission. I know Nick is going to be all over this, so it's going to be great. And I really appreciate Dr. Sims and all your staff helping out here. This is good stuff. But question I got is the 13.8 is pretty much everything within that yellow square, I'm going to guess, right? Nothing beyond it.
Correct.
Okay, because I think it'd just be an absolute shame to just drop it in and not finish the job. And I just would love to understand what it would take to do that tie-in stuff and that conceptual. And maybe that's the other slide to show is the conceptual, because that having that driveway continue to be there and having people pull up and park there, I just want to eliminate that. And I want to be able, I mean, I can't imagine it costs too much more to tie in that patio, whatever, courtyard into something that goes over toward the new PA or the PAC's going. And I just think it'd be worth it. The other thing too that's not really shown here is there's a very lovely property yard sitting right there across the street from the softball field. It's that, so the softball field, right? Go across the street. No.
South and bottom?
Right. No, go east. Go east toward the STEM building. No, toward the STEM building. Right there. Well, there's a property yard right there that's just, it's got a cover on it and.
That's going away.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. So, I mean, as long as we're doing all that, let's clean it all up and do it right.
Yes, that's, sorry, there was modular classrooms and then that storage facility.
And that's going to get built into the PAC, I would, or some way, somehow.
Right.
Okay. But anyway, that's my take. My personal opinion is I'd like to see that 13.8 to maybe include an incremental, this is what it would take to, and maybe we don't know that number yet because we haven't engaged the landscape guys, perhaps. But I think it's worth to understand and make a trade-off discussion on it.
We actually had it in when we started.
Okay.
Can you be specific about what is not
Yeah.
included specifically?
Can you go back to
Sure.
the slide? Which was
Probably the drawing.
The drawing, yeah, the
the
concept.
concept.
That
There you
one,
go.
yeah.
So we started off with a new entry coming off of Nevada Boulevard, this parking lot and this courtyard with the site work around the side, and we were significantly over budget. So we did reduce it back into just the plaza and the immediate side concrete around the building in order to, as John said, conform with the existing surroundings. I don't have the number with me, but I want to say it's between $800 and $1 million additional to build out the courtyard, the parking, and extend the road. So that's a rough magnitude is
Well, I guess-
750 to $1 million.
I guess the road's a big piece of it. I didn't anticipate the road being part of it.
Yeah, in a general rule, if you're developing the land and the paving and the utilities and the stuff that go along with it, you have to, have, in addition, let paths of travel to the accessible parking, and it just snowballs. But I want to say we're in the $14.7 million range on the initial cost estimates.
Okay.
We also had a very lovely toilet room building that
That's my
sat
question.
right here.
Where's the bathroom?
What building?
Yeah,
Restrooms.
that was my question.
Yeah.
Where's the bathroom?
That would have been usable from the fields and stuff. I mean, John can elaborate. It was a really great concept, but again, we were trying to get down as close as we could to the master plan budget.
Right. Okay. And then a last question, I'm sorry, for Mike. Portables. The portables that were, where are we going to put them during construction?
The other ones, that's a whole picture.
But aren't they,
We have more portables up here. We think we can put the ones here up next to the other ones that are already up there.
is that where the solar panels are? No.
No, there's
No.
Okay.
Three portables there, right?
There's already 3 there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Two more.
And that's the 2? Okay. And then when we're done, are those portables staying?
The idea is, a great question, is we're building 10, classrooms, and the idea is 10 portables go away. Unfortunately, San Marin has more than 10 portables, plus I know the school has some urgent needs for classroom space, so we're going to work out how many we actually get to downsize, but the intent is to get rid of the portable modular classroom buildings that are not meant to last too long. And then, of course, much like we talked about last board meeting with the Novato, we have the science building. Here. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Yep.
Which is going to need to be renovated.
Become math.
Some of the classrooms renovated to be used for regular classrooms.
Okay.
I mean, the science lecture
Yeah.
lab, that's kind of a unique space we need to do some work to, and that's not part of this cost as well.
Okay.
All right, trustee Scott, you were next.
So my question was, where is the bathroom? But now since I know there is no bathroom, how close is the bathroom? Where's the closest bathroom?
It's at in the arts building, there's bathrooms in the makerspace buildings, and there's bathrooms in the existing one, and then we proceeded, you all approved the new one, we have bathrooms in there as well.
Okay. And then my other question was, I was really happy to hear that a lot of the science teachers were involved and active in this. That really made me happy. But I was curious whether or not were the students involved in this process and any parents. Just curious.
Parents, we had the two ladies that presented the STEM program update. I believe
yeah.
it was, is it Jenny Blacken?
Yeah, I don't remember the names.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But they oversaw the STEM Foundation.
Right,
group.
they
Yeah.
were involved actively, and I think students more through the teachers. The students did say, Nick Williams and some others said they talked with some of their students. We did not have any students specifically on the site committee meetings, but I think through the teachers they
Had some
got some of their input.
Okay, I was just curious since those are the customers. I just wanted to hear. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Does the Performing Arts Center, the new design that we're looking at, does that have an impact on the shape of it, on that whole back part of the campus?
It shouldn't. It's basically a rectangular
Right.
shape, and you could orient it this way, or
Yeah.
you could orient it that way, and it would fit within the existing kind of footprint of
Okay,
the Gone-shaped building.
all right.
And I'm going to look at Steve and John because they're working diligently on the schematic design proposal for that project.
Yep.
So hopefully the next board meeting or two, we'll be
Okay.
bringing that back to the board for
Okay.
review.
Anybody else? Trustee Nell, why don't you, and then Trustee Cooper.
We got a good thing going here. I support it. It's looks like we're off in the right direction, and I think the process has been a good one. But I think I would be, going forward, what I don't see here are stakeholders for this project. And I don't read a lot about in the current upgrade, but having followed the process from the beginning, I know that their individuals have been involved. But it would be good at this level if there was a principal here.
Yes, Mark's here.
Well, I'd like to hear from him. Are you
gladly
planning
turn
to
the
address the
microphone
board on this? Well, I'm asking for your opinion on this, and I'd like to hear it before we make a decision. And if is there a department head here, a science department head? Do we have?
Unfortunately, none of the site committee members were able to make it tonight.
Well, it's difficult to make these decisions without these stakeholders present, or at least sending emails or being involved somewhat. So I have reservations. So let's hear from our principal.
Well, I can share that every member of the science team was at least 2 meetings. Diane Santamorena, who has a great deal of experience in science, attended all of the meetings. Dr. L.B. Burnt was at all of the meetings. Nick Williams was at all of the meetings. They collaborated with the group here on multiple discussions. They felt very listened to. They're very excited about the potential of this building to keep moving forward with both programs in STEM Marin. So they're very excited and hope for a positive outcome with the board's vote this evening.
That's the endorsement I'm looking for, so thank you.
Okay. Trustee Cooper, no. And Trustee Aguila.
This is great. I think my question is, or my comment is that I would like to see if there's any way, to what Greg was talking about, to finishing it off. And I don't know if we can tweak it, if we can pull the road work out of the scope and just do the part on the north or the east side of.
We can definitely look at, let me go back
just
to
that
this.
corridor where the cars go down now, do that part, but don't do the road between the tennis court on that side. So skip that. I mean, you could pull some money out for doing that. do that part later, but the rest seems a shame to do all this work and kind of halfway. It's like we walk away and half done.
And again, I think the balancing act that we're all engaged
I
in
understood.
is trying to hit that happy medium for getting all we can and balance economies of scale, and also do the best we can to get all the projects in the master plan. So certainly, yeah. Can we do it for the 13.8? No, we're gonna, obviously be increasing the budget a little bit. The one thing about it, it'll never be cheaper than it is right now, especially with the economy of scale and the equipment out there and everything working to be able to do it at the same time. There's $222 million to get as far as we can. So again, it's the board's decision. I think the one thing that we're working real hard to do is to try and hit that optimal point on these budgets to make sure that we're designing buildings that meet your program and complete it as fully as possible without getting carried away on the budgets.
Agreed, and I think, but I would appreciate it as one trustee to exclude that road area and see what kind of number you come up with then. Just do the area of that side right there and exclude that.
Understood. So
Actually, a suggestion, when you come back with the PAC schematic, maybe include a line, a delta, whatever, for if we were to tie in the plazas between the two.
At the risk of kind of stretching this out to too much, one of the things we're looking at is via contracting method is potentially combining both of the projects together under a lease-back agreement, in which case there'll be some room to really work with budgets and estimates to see how we can kind of join the two spaces together with that plaza and also the parking areas. For economies of scale reason, it makes good sense for general condition savings. Instead of have two contractors, you got 14 months of overlap there. That's a $500,000 pickup right there. So.
Anything else, Trustee Cooper? Yeah, yeah.
Sounds good.
Trustee Aguila? Yeah.
Oh, no, my question was answered as you were speaking. But I wanted to thank the principal for being here. Thank you that you were here, so we were able to get your input.
All right, I don't see anybody else. So you heard some direction. I know you're looking for approval of the schematic design of the building itself. I think the board, and I want to make sure I've only have 2 board members saying that they want some additional numbers. How is the rest of the board with looking at some options in regards to cost on completing the courtyard area and the driveway, additional parking?
I actually don't support it very much at all, but I think the last suggestion of trying to combine the bidding process, we gotta, I don't mind when the time comes to put the PAC in, that you've got a place where we could connect one to the other, in theory and drawn with a pencil and pen, that type of thing. But I'm not sure if we can afford to do a lot more than that's currently proposed, so I support it as is, but.
Okay. All right. We went out for some matching. I have a note here for CTE grant. Yeah. Or was there any, what happened? Did you fall down on your?
Fell asleep. The rest of me is totally awake though.
Okay.
We have gotten our initial approval of the scoring back.
Okay.
That says that we are that we've met the minimum score, which is actually very difficult to do on the CTE grant funding. So now we're waiting our place in line.
Okay.
But that could be
that
could be a long process given where the state is with its state bond right now. So we're not taking that into consideration.
There's still hope.
But we are optimistic that those funds will be available. And one of the most important things about those funds it's not just the brick and mortar construction, it's also for the biotech program, equipment.
Yes.
Which for that program is very expensive.
Yep. Okay.
I think that is important. And one thing to note on, I think with this project, with the building and the regular project, with no, I don't think any issue with the building such, the board can approve the schematic design of the building, and then with direction, we can come back with looking at it in some options later, and you could approve a different or a updated schematic
Okay.
design if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
think
good.
it is
I was hoping for
important
that.
so that our architects
Yeah.
can get moving into their detailed design drawings, because the plaza, that kind of stuff, is not overly difficult to change if we're changing, heights, if we're changing structure. That's the kind of stuff that, and I don't think that's necessarily in any doubt here. So I would recommend the approval of the schematic
Thank you
design
for clarifying.
with direction.
Yeah, with direction, okay.
Madam President?
Yes.
I just want to go back to my justification for my comment on being careful about spending money is, I think it was said, but there's something happening in the economy right now, and those of us who are in the manufacturing business that make use of commodities and other building materials, the prices are going up exponentially, and to the point where I was looking at a 13%, increase in something. So I'm very, very nervous about that. So we have to get going and get started and lock things down as much as possible, because I can only imagine in the building trades and these materials are going up just as much as they are in my industry. So I'm cautioning all of you that from a consumer level, retail level, you are not seeing this yet, but it is coming like a freight train.
President Butler, if I could,
Yes.
John had a comment
Yeah.
Earlier about student engagement. He could
Okay.
provide a little more detail.
Yes.
So yeah, one of the things that we really like to do is engage students, and I appreciate your comment about whether they were included or not. And so I think initially on, we did have one or two students that showed up to the site committee meeting, and it was it was kind of a problem for them because a lot of them were involved with sports. And so there was a conflict between the schedule of the site committee meetings and their sports teams. But amazingly, Nick incorporated this project into his class. And one of the student projects that he had them do was to design their version using the same parameters that we had to use, that they had to do their own project and design this building in groups of about 3 or 4, and I got to sit on a panel to kind of be a judge with him on this. And each group of students did a presentation to their class, and they had about 5 minutes to kind of describe their design and kind of debate why they thought certain things should be the way that they were. And they really did a fantastic job. And so that's how they were really incorporated. Nick really brought them in, and so I don't know how many kids there were total, but there were several grades. All the grades had some students, and there were probably, I think we judged probably 20, 25, 30 different presentations. And they built physical models. They had electronic, some of the SketchUp software that I did those images and that you saw tonight. They were using software, just the same software, and doing their own SketchUp images. Nice. And the whole oral presentation, they did a fantastic job. Nick did a great job with them. So it was really good to see them, and their excitement being able to kind of to design a building for their school. So they did, while not being part of the site committee formally, they did have a lot of opportunity and involvement in the design. And quite frankly, some of the ideas that they had in there were ideas that we have, and they'll see reflected into the final project too. So
great. Well, thank
thought
you
I'd
so
share that
much.
with you. Sure.
Yeah, that
Thank you
was
so much
great.
for sharing that. That really makes me very happy. So thank you. What a great educational opportunity as well for them.
Trustee.
Yep. I have a blue card. Yep.
My advice would be to lead with that next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
that we're in the business of educating students, and that their involvement is very important to us, and the fact that they had those opportunities, and our concern over whether we're doing what the people who live in this community want to do. that's my advice to staff next time. Let's lead with that.
Loud and clear.
Thank you, Trustee Nell, for those comments. I have a blue card. Zach? And Zach, I can't read your last name, so I apologize. So just state it when you come up.
I'll be quick. I'm Zach Gerge. I'm a junior at San Marin. I just want to begin by saying I 100% support this project. I just want to just build off of the property yard comment by pointing out that one of the 2 storage units there currently belongs to the robotics club, and I just want to make sure that the storage needs of the robotics club are still met under the existing and proposed schematics. And that's it.
Great. That's a good point.
Let's
That needs to be taken care of. Did you hear that, Mike?
I did. Definitely, and I think there's some other, it's a multi-use storage facility. We'll make sure, working with the site,
Yeah.
making sure they find a home.
All right, board, let's bring it back to us here. And then, so the direction or the recommendation is to approve the schematic design, the project schedule, and project cost estimates for the STEM building at San Marin High School. We did hear that, Yancy, that we can go ahead and approve this if the board is ready to do so, and provide direction if board members do want additional
I'll move that we approve the schematic.
design or okay.
Yeah, I'll move that we
Sorry.
approve the schematic, and with guidance to please bring along with the PAC design, incremental, what would it take to tie things together? And
do that.
Creative ideas and how to merge projects, whatever. So.
Okay. First by Trustee Mack and a second by Trustee Cooper.
Comment.
Comment? Yes, Trustee Nell.
I just, just generally speaking, not specific to this particular issue, but I think that the speaker brought up an important fact that I know we are taking into consideration, that when we move or shift anything, if we're displacing other things, that we're finding solutions to those things. And so that's just one more thing to add to the list, that if you feel like you're getting displaced, hopefully we're coming up with an equal solution, and hopefully we're doing that for the robotics club.
Absolutely. Wouldn't.
All right, all in favor? Great, 6-0, 1 absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody coming and speaking, and appreciate that. It helps quite a bit for us to have everybody here. We can get our questions answered. Okay, the next item, sorry. Turn it over to Superintendent Hogaboom. This is CSEA bringing their openers for negotiations.
Thank you very much. So yeah, this is CSEA's initial proposal to reopen contract negotiations with NUSD for the upcoming 2018-19 school year. So you have the reopeners there. Basically, there's 4 articles. Article 3, which is salary. Article 4, hours and overtime. Article 5, employee benefits. And Article 7, vacation. So after the public has had an opportunity to provide input and the board has presented its initial proposal at a public meeting, then the district and CSEA will commence negotiations on their proposals. So before you, our recommendation is to approve CSEA's initial proposals for contract reopeners.
Okay. Trustee Nell.
So I'll just say, welcome this opener. It's goes without saying that it would be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to educate the students in our community without our CSEA partners. And so I look forward to working with them on the best way to educate our kids.
Okay. Is that a, yeah. Is that a
I'm
motion?
prepared to move
I second.
the recommendation.
Okay. Trustee Nell is the first. Trustee Aguila is the second. All in favor? 6-0. All right, the next item, we have this item and then 2 more, the 2 consent items that were pulled. This is the resolution. This is something that is done. This is resolution number 26, 2017-18, proposing an election on the November 6, 2018 for trustee vacancies. There is 3 vacancies that will be due up here in November, and you'll see them listed on the resolution. You do have a revised version of the resolution at your table, and the one thing that got changed was in the second whereas, we had to change that to the word candidate instead of district being responsible. The candidate is responsible for their candidate's statement of qualifications, for paying for all that stuff. So we just had to correct that. So that gets submitted properly. And then this is just a resolution that is done every time this board is up for election. We have 3 at this time, and in 2 years there'll be 4 of us up. So, any comments? Trustee Cooper.
Just a matter of vocabulary. On the resolution itself, is it President Board of Directors or Board of Trustees? Do you want it to, should it be Board of Trustees, or doesn't matter?
Where am I? How come I'm not seeing that?
Very bottom.
Oh.
On the right-hand side.
Yeah, we probably should say, I mean, this is a
Other than
Board of
that, it doesn't-
Trustees, you're right. We'll change that.
Other than that, it looks fine. And I move on it.
Okay, so a first by Trustee Cooper,
I'll second as amended.
okay, and a second by Trustee Nell. Hold on, let me just write that down. All in favor? Okay, 5-0, 2 absent. Trustee Aguila stepped out, so. All right, so let's move on to the 2 items. Trustee Nell, you pulled item 16D and 16F.
I did.
Okay.
I felt it was important enough just to bring up these two particular items because they're related to technology and what technology is becoming for education going forward. But mostly from the perspective that one of these items is, I believe, being funded from our the sale of our bonds, and the other, I believe, is from a set-aside that we had from our general funding, which, if that is not the case, I'd like to have clarified, and with that, and then I'd like to continue my statement.
You are correct in both of those. The Chromebooks are from Measure G out of the Wonder World, and the teacher refresh is out of a board-approved set-aside.
So, thank you. So, the point I'm trying to make here is that these Chromebooks are not going to last forever. This refresh of teacher computers just means we're going to have to do this again. That these are not in my opinion, one-time funding. The equipment and the services and software tools that we need to provide an education going forward are going to be ongoing needs. And I'm suggesting that as we go forward with our budgeting process, that we take these types of things into account as we build our budgets, especially during these times of openers and negotiations. It's important that we are focused on programs and the equipment and the tools that we're going to need to do education. And I don't think we can continue to have deferred maintenance, things like computers, Chromebooks in the deferred maintenance category. I think we should be expecting to replace them on a regular annualized basis. And I'm speaking in favor of a set-aside budget items for these things for here on in perpetuity. So that was the comment I wanted to make. And with that said, I'm prepared to move items D and F.
Trustee Scott has a comment.
Yancy, can you also just explain to the public in terms of the Chromebooks that are financed with the bond, that is not for the full life of the bond, that's for a shorter amount of time? I would just like you to just reiterate that. I don't want the folks at home to think that that's 25 years of us paying that off.
Yes.
You just comment on it.
The bonds, the first phase of the issuance were done in 2 parts. The first were your typical 25-year bonds that are for more construction-related items. But noticing that in our plan that there was technology, as Trustee Nell noted, that will not last for 25 years, we issued much shorter term bonds, 1, 2, and 3 year bonds that cover that and more. Yeah, very specifically, and it's a and A1 if you go back to the bond issuances.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Trustee Nell, you said you were prepared. Okay, yeah. Trustee Nell is a first on both of these items. I guess we can second. Okay. So let's go with item D. I have a first by trustee Nell and a second by trustee Mack. All in favor? 6-0, 1 absent. And then item F, I have a first by trustee Nell and a second by trustee Mack. All in favor? 6-0, 1 absent. Okay, that concludes our board meeting. The next regular scheduled board meeting is May 22nd, and we will be starting at 6 o'clock for the open session. We'll be doing our retiree awards and some student awards. So that'll be NISA awards, excuse me, and which are student awards, but so we look forward to that. This meeting is adjourned.